So get this. Tesla's cars are now driving themselves right off the assembly line at their Fremont factory. No driver. Completely unsupervised.
Yeah, pretty wild.
So by the end of this deep dive, you'll not only understand what Tesla has done, but why it matters. We're talking cost savings, the future of transportation, and maybe even robots. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first, paint us a picture. What are these cars actually doing?
So imagine this. Brand new Teslas, fresh off the assembly line, driving themselves, get this, 1.2 miles through the Fremont factory. They're going from the assembly line to the loading docks.
Yeah.
No driver needed.
Okay, that's cool and all, but why is everyone making such a big deal out of this? It's just a parking lot, right?
Well, it's more than just a cool trick. This is a huge step toward Tesla's big goal. Full self-driving on public roads. And by proving that their system can handle a complex factory environment, it really shows how much their self-driving tech has grown, how reliable it's becoming.
And one of the videos even mentions some pretty crazy cost savings, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. One of the videos actually features a Tesla employee, a guy named Steve T, who used to work at the Texas factory. He said that they used to have a ton of people whose only job was to drive cars from the assembly line to the parking lots. Automating this could save Tesla literally millions of dollars every year.
Wow, millions. That's a serious chunk of change. Hold on, let's break that down for a second, because sure, 2.5 million sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, how much does Tesla actually spend overall?
Yeah, you got a point. In the grand scheme of Tesla's overall spending, which is in the billions, 2.5 million really is a drop in the bucket. The real value here is less about the immediate savings and more about what it shows, that their self-driving system is reliable and it can scale.
So this is more about proving the tech works than actually pinching pennies.
Exactly. Think of it as a stepping stone. If they can nail this level of autonomy in a tough environment like a factory, just imagine what's next. Public roads, delivery services, robotaxis. It opens up a ton of possibilities.
I see what you mean. Tesla hasn't always had the easiest time with self-driving, though, right? There have been some hiccups and controversies along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Think back to the early days of autopilot back in 2014. It was revolutionary at the time.
Yeah.
But there were also some pretty public incidents that made people worry about whether the technology was actually safe.
Right, and there's been a lot of talk about Tesla overpromising and under-delivering when it comes to their self-driving timelines. So where does this latest development fit into the whole self-driving journey?
It's a big sign of progress. They haven't stopped refining their tech. They've been collecting tons of data, and their algorithms are getting better and better. This factory thing is a demonstration of how far they've come. A real-world example of their commitment to achieving full self-driving.
And it goes way beyond just the cars, right? Tesla's building a whole world around this technology.
That's what makes Tesla so interesting. They think big. They're not just focused on the vehicle. They're developing charging networks, they're exploring ride-hailing services, and they're even working on those Optimus humanoid robots.
Okay, let's talk about those Optimus robots. The videos mention them, but they don't really get into the details. What's the connection between self-driving cars and humanoid robots?
It all boils down to the AI. The same neural networks that power Tesla's self-driving cars could be used to power robots that can move around and navigate our world. Think about it. If a car can drive itself, why not a robot that can walk, grab things, and do tasks like a human?
That's both incredible and kind of creepy. Are we talking about a future where robots are just walking around among us?
It might sound like science fiction, but Tesla is making it happen, which brings up a lot of questions. What will these robots do? Will they be helpers, or will they replace human workers?
And how will we ensure they're safe and act ethically? It feels like we're heading into uncharted territory here.
You're 100% right. The implications of this are huge, and we're just beginning to grapple with them.
Well, I don't know about you, but this is all starting to feel a bit overwhelming.
It's a lot to take in, for sure. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we live, how we work, and how we interact with the world around us. And Tesla is leading the way.
Before we get carried away with all the futuristic possibilities, let's ground ourselves for a moment. What does this factory deployment really mean for Tesla right now?
It's a big win for their approach to self-driving. It shows that their tech is mature, gives them an edge over the competition, and sets them up for even more ambitious projects down the road.
And it's got to put some pressure on other car companies to step up their game, right?
Oh, absolutely. Tesla's rivals are watching, and they know they can't afford to fall behind in this race. And this could spark a wave of innovation and investment in the self-driving space.
This is definitely an exciting time to be following this tech. It feels like we're on the verge of something truly transformative.
We definitely are. And the coolest part is we're just getting started. One thing that really stood out to me from those videos was how ambitious Tesla is. Like,
Hmm?
they're not just trying to make cars that drive themselves. They're trying to completely revolutionize transportation, change our cities, and integrate robots to our everyday lives.
They really are trying to build a whole new world, and it seems like self-driving cars are just the first step in that plan. But all this new tech, it's bound to change the job market. What about all the workers in industries like trucking and delivery?
It's definitely a real concern, something we need to think about. But at the same time, new technology has always disrupted the job market. The Industrial Revolution, computers, the internet. Every time something big comes along, some jobs disappear and new ones are created.
So you're saying we shouldn't worry about people losing their jobs?
I wouldn't say that. It's important to prepare for these changes, to make sure people have the skills they need to succeed in a changing world. We had to be proactive, not reactive.
I agree. Let's switch gears for a minute and talk about something a little more, I don't know, philosophical. As these self-driving cars become more advanced, are we going to reach a point where we start seeing them as intelligent in their own right?
Whoa, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that's already being debated by philosophers and ethicists. If a machine can learn, make decisions, and navigate the world on its own, at what point do we say it's intelligent? And if that happens, how does that change how we see machines?
It's pretty mind-blowing, right? We usually think of intelligence as something unique to humans. But what if we're on the verge of creating a whole new kind of intelligence, artificial, but just as real?
It definitely makes you rethink what it means to be intelligent. And it brings up ethical questions too. Like, if a self-driving car crashes, who's responsible? The person who owns it, the company that made it, the AI itself.
These are questions we need to be asking now, before this technology is everywhere.
For sure. We need to have open conversations about what self-driving tech means ethically. And we need to figure out guidelines for how to develop and use it responsibly.
It's a big responsibility, but I don't think Tesla is shying away from it.
Not at all. They seem to be embracing it, always pushing the limits, testing things out, making improvements.
And they're not afraid to cause a stir. Remember when Elon Musk first said that Tesla cars would be able to drive themselves completely autonomously?
Yeah, back in like 2016 or something, a lot of people thought he was crazy. But look how far they've come.
It's amazing. It shows how bold their vision is. They're not just trying to make better cars, they're trying to change the world.
And they're not afraid to step on some toes while they're at it. They've got critics, regulators, competitors, safety advocates, but they keep moving forward because they truly believe this technology can change everything.
One thing's for sure, Tesla's thinking long term. They're willing to take risks, experiment, and shake things up.
That's what makes them so disruptive.
Mm.
They're not just following the rules, they're making new ones.
Speaking of rules, the laws around self-driving cars are still being figured out.
It's a bit of a free-for-all right now. Governments around the world are still trying to work out how to regulate this tech. It's a tough problem with no easy answers.
On one hand, we need rules to make sure everything's safe and people are accountable. But on the other hand, we don't want to hold back innovation with too many rules.
Exactly. It's a tricky balance. And different countries are approaching it in different ways.
Like the US has been pretty hands-off, letting companies like Tesla test and use self-driving tech without too many restrictions.
While places like China and Singapore have taken a more top-down approach, setting specific rules and regulations.
It'll be interesting to see how those different approaches turn out in the long run. But no matter the rules, one thing's absolutely crucial for self-driving cars to be successful. People need to trust them.
You got it. People need to believe these systems are safe, reliable, and ethical. And you have to earn that trust, not just expect it.
And that brings us back to Tesla. They've had their controversies, but they also have a lot of loyal customers who believe in what they're doing and trust their technology.
That trust is really valuable, and other companies are going to have to build that same level of trust if they want to compete in the world of self-driving.
And it's not just about building trust with customers. It's about building trust with regulators, policymakers, and the public as a whole.
Definitely. Tesla needs to show that they're serious about safety and ethics, and that they're willing to work with everyone to make sure this technology is developed and used responsibly.
One of the things I find really interesting about Tesla is how much they focus on collecting data. They've gathered a massive amount of real-world driving data from all their vehicles, and they're using that data to train and improve their self-driving algorithms.
That data is their secret weapon. It allows them to move quickly, find those edge cases, and improve their systems at a speed their competitors just can't match.
It's a perfect example of how valuable data is in the age of AI.
Absolutely. The more data you have, the better you can train your algorithms, the more robust your AI becomes.
And Tesla's taking full advantage of that. They're not just collecting data from the cars, they're getting data from their customers, their charging network, even their factories.
They're building a whole data ecosystem, a closed loop that feeds back into their development process, so they can constantly improve their products and services.
It's a smart strategy, and one that's likely to pay off in the future.
Totally agree. It's giving them a big advantage in the race to build truly self-driving systems.
But it's not all about the tech, it's also about the experience for the user.
You're so right. Tesla gets that. Self-driving cars can't just be safe and reliable. They need to be easy to use, enjoyable, and fit seamlessly into people's lives.
And they're doing a great job of that. Their interfaces are sleek and simple, their autopilot system is smooth and responsive, and they're constantly adding new features and upgrades.
They're raising the bar for everyone else and showing the world that self-driving cars aren't just a futuristic fantasy. They're a reality.
We've covered a lot here, but before we jump into the final part of our deep dive, I want to take a minute to talk about something that often gets lost in all the talk about self-driving cars.
What's that?
The potential for self-driving cars to actually do good in the world. It's easy to focus on the hype, the controversies, the potential dangers. But this technology could make our lives better in so many ways.
It's true. Self-driving cars could revolutionize transportation for people with disabilities, cut down on accidents, make our roads safer, and give us back so much of our time.
They could also change public transportation, make our cities more livable, and help us reduce our dependence on fossil fuels.
It really is a game changer with the potential to tackle some of the toughest problems we face.
It's definitely something to be excited about.
Absolutely. It's been quite a journey, right? From factories to robots to ethics to the future of cities.
You know, one thing that really hit me is how Tesla's approach to self-driving is just so different from traditional car companies.
Yeah, totally. Most car companies see self-driving as like an extra feature you add to a car. But Tesla, they're building their entire strategy around it.
It's like they're designing the car around the AI, not the other way around.
Exactly. And you can see that in how they approach tech. They've put a ton of resources into developing their own AI chips, their own neural networks, their own data systems. They're not just using stuff that's already out there. They're building it all from scratch.
And that gives them a real edge, doesn't it, having all that control?
For sure. It means they have control over every part of the self-driving experience, the hardware, the software, the data, and it lets them move a lot faster than those companies stuck with old systems and partnerships.
It's like the difference between a nimble startup and a massive corporation.
Exactly. Tesla has the freedom and the guts to take risks and push boundaries in a way those big car companies just can't.
Let's be real, though. Tesla gets its fair share of criticism. They've been called out for their overly ambitious timelines, all the hype they create, and even their safety record.
Yeah, they've definitely had some bumps in the road, but you got to admit they've made incredible progress. Look how far they've come in just a few years.
Yeah.
From basic autopilot to cars that can drive themselves in these complex factory environments.
And they're already testing their full self-driving beta on real roads, right? Even if there's a human driver just in case.
They're absolutely making big moves toward their goal of full autonomy. And all that data they're collecting gives them a huge leg up in training their AI.
Speaking of data, I think it's worth really underlining just how important that is to Tesla's success.
Totally agree. They've built this huge database of real-world driving data from all their cars out there. And they're using it to make their algorithms better and better. It's a cycle. More data leads to smarter AI, which leads to even more data, and so on.
It's like a snowball effect.
And it's something other car companies are having a tough time keeping up with. They just don't have the same amount of data that Tesla does.
So what does all this mean for the future of self-driving? Is Tesla going to run the whole show?
Well, still early days. Things are changing fast, and there are a lot of players in this game. But Tesla has a big head start, and the way they're going after this is putting pressure on everyone else.
It's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. But I think one thing's clear. Self-driving cars are inevitable, whether we're ready or not.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the implications are huge, way beyond just transportation. This is about the future of our cities, the future of work, even the future of humanity.
Okay, so to wrap up our Tesla deep dive, we've talked about the tech, the challenges, the potential upsides of self-driving cars. But I think the big question is, Are we, as a society, ready for this?
That's the big question, isn't it? Are we ready to let go of the wheel, to trust these machines with our lives, to rethink our cities and our way of life?
Those are tough questions, and there aren't any easy answers. But it's a conversation we need to start having now, before this technology is everywhere.
Couldn't agree more. We need to be thoughtful, informed, and engaged. We need to consider what's right and wrong, the potential risks, and what this all means in the long run.
And we need to remember that the future isn't just something that happens to us, it's something we build together
Uh,
through the choices we make.
so as we enter this new age of self-driving cars, let's be bold, let's be curious, and let's be responsible. Let's shape this technology so it benefits everyone. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It's been awesome exploring this with you, and we hope you keep digging deeper into the world of knowledge and innovation.